get your attention. I know there's a lot going around in the background right now. That's the tour going around. My name is Andreas M. Hansen. I'm going to talk a bit about Instagram today and how I built my profile, where I now have around 36,000 followers. So I'm not going to give you the holy grail to how, of course, you should interact with Instagram and how everything works, but I might give you some input and the do's and don'ts according to me. But before I get started, I just want to thank you all for showing this interest. I didn't expect that at all. I was hoping for maybe 10 people to show up, and right now there's much more than 10 people, so thanks a lot for that. A quick intro about me. I'm a graphic designer, art director, and a calligraphy artist, which is what I'm showcasing also on my Instagram. I work all over the world, including Hong Kong, Stockholm, Tokyo, different places, and I'm now here in Copenhagen, where I'm born, and sitting here in Founders House, starting my new own design agency, which is a new chapter for me. So only been going on for 2 months right now, but already have a lot going on. And Instagram has been a side project for me for 2 to 3 years now, I think. It was a side project to start off with, and then it evolved into a business for me, and now it's actually half of the business I'm doing, I think. At one point I actually did make a living out of only doing things through Instagram. So that's a bit about that. Let's jump on. This is a quick screenshot of what I do, and here's some pictures of what I do. So what I started off showcasing was only calligraphy and typography on my Instagram, and has today evolved into what you see here, which is a lot of different pictures. We have calligraphy, then we have interior pictures, lifestyle pictures, if you can say that, from around the world when I travel especially. So it's a lot of different things I showcase on my profile. There's a few more pictures. And as you can see, I have a specific style, which I'm also going to talk about how you can evolve that into your own. Because it's not something that's easy, and it's not just a click on something that you do, so it's definitely tricky to do that. We'll get into that. So, a bit of history of Instagram. Instagram was launched, I don't know, almost 10 years ago now, and it was a platform where most people used to just show pictures of their friends, their family, the dogs, whatever food there was. It wasn't really an platform for showcasing your work and showcasing your life or anything like that. It was more just a daily routine for many people. That has evolved though into what it is today for many people, which is an interest platform, I would say, including myself. So I go to Instagram to seek inspiration. I don't go into Instagram to see your food pictures. I don't go into Instagram to see what you're doing right now when you're home on a Saturday. I go to find inspiration here. That's also why I follow a lot of people that give me that inspiration. So my Instagram is purely business, if you can call it that. I don't post anything that is super personal to me, and I don't follow anybody that is super personal to me either. So it's very strict, and those are some rules you need to align before you actually start your Instagram. Because there's a lot of people still doing what I just talked about out there. Just showcase their life, their pictures, their food, and all that. And that's fine if that's what you want to do with Instagram. But you should just expect that if that's what you're doing, you might not get a lot of followers, and you might not be able to get a business going doing that, of course. So you need to figure out what you should do. And a bit of history of how I started my Instagram, because as I just talked about, I also started just showcasing everything from my daily life, and I have a few screenshots I'm going to show you from back in the days where it was just, this is from 2013, 2014, which was my Instagram back then, and you can see there's just, I'm still showcasing some of the work I did back then, but it was more or less just my daily life. There was nothing interesting in this to a lot of people, except the people that was close to me. And at one point I found a gap in Instagram, or a market for calligraphy and typography, which I saw was really, really big. And I wanted to try and get a piece of that. So when I came to 2014, I actually went into my Instagram. I think I had around 400 or 500 photos at that time, just like a lot of shit. And I deleted a lot of that. And that's also something that is very important to a lot of people is to just delete. If you want to start, if you want to get a business or a profile that's interesting to a lot of people, you need to start fresh. That doesn't mean you need to start a new Instagram, but you need to somehow involve it, rebuild it with your pictures, with the description of you, with everything. Here's some more pictures when we hit 2014, and here is what I just talked about. I realized there was a market for something like that. I was at this time trying to figure out a style for my photos and an environment that I was going to showcase. And as you can see, there isn't really one. It's all over. There's yellow, there's orange, there's black, there's a selfie, it's a lot of mixed pictures here, and that is of course not the most interesting for a lot of people to look at. So if we move on here, you can see that quickly changed. Between 2015 and 2014, I decided to try and go all in on my calligraphy and typography, which you can see over here in the 2015, and I was basically only showcasing that. The minimalistic approach to it, the black and white, didn't come natural to me. It did come natural to me. It was not something I forced in and said, okay, now I'm going to focus on that. So that's something I've evolved over time, and it's just something that's still going on in my Instagram, but at this time, I was only showcasing that. However, that quickly got quite boring for me, only showcasing my work and only showcasing typography. It just quickly got boring and it just died out for me. So I also quickly wanted to try and do other things on Instagram, interior, lifestyle pictures, whatever that could be, travel especially as well. So as you can see in the 2016 over here, that's early 2016, I've involved a bit more into it. I'm now showcasing some more pictures from my home, from others' home, from my travel, or from just different things, so it's not only focused on that. And my experience is that people actually really love that, because if you're just showcasing one thing, you will get a lot of attention, but that attention will quickly die. People will get bored of it, and they will find you interesting for 2 months, 3 months, and then they're gonna unfollow you, and they're not interested anymore. So you need to keep up and keep posting new things all the time. So it's not only, as I did in 2015, just typography all over again. So if you see the comparison here, this is 2014, and this is my Instagram feed recently. You can see I've involved a style, as I talked about. Some people call it monochromic, minimalistic. I don't really have a word for it myself. But again, this is not something that I forced in, it's something that came natural to me, and it's something that just evolved over time. I'm going to talk a bit about later how I do these photos, because there's certain things I do all over my photos, on every audience. So it's not like I go in and choose a different setting for each photo or something like that. I have things I do for each photo I upload. So the next one I'm going to talk about is, do I need to have a theme for my pictures? Which is what I just touched a little base on. Pictures, let's just skip here. So if you look at these pictures here, this is just random people off Instagram, for example. And if I were to ask you to say that 2 of these photos is from the same person and 1 is not, would you be able to do that? I don't think so, because these photos is, again, just the lifestyle daily thing, and they're just boring, and there's missing some consistency, and then there's nothing that screams, oh, I'm Jake or Jane over here. There's nothing personal or anything to it. It's just very all over the place, and none of these people are like a high follower account or anything, but it's definitely something to take into account when you look through your feed, if you try to go back and see where you're posting and what could you post in the future. So this is another example. 2 of these people is again, 2 of these photos is again from the same person, and I hope it's more visible this time which 2 that is. So the one to the left and the one to the right here is from the same person, and the one in the middle is from a different person. But what you see here is that the 2 pictures in the side have obviously a built-in theme, setting, whatever you call it, for their pictures, and you are able to recognize that that photo is from this person. And that's what you need to achieve in Instagram, especially. That you need people to be able to relate that photo to you, because otherwise, why would they follow you? So that's a very, very important thing to be aware of, to develop your own style that people can associate with you. So when they see it in your newsfeed, they might not look at your name, but they just know instantly, looking at that photo, that that's from you. So that's a very, very important thing to be aware of. And another very important thing is to try to avoid the filter look, which I'm going to dig into here. So Instagram is, of course, a photo platform, and let's not forget that, because that's very important. It's not a platform where you should go and advertise your software company and write a long description that explains a lot about it. It's a place for pictures. And that also means that if you're a good photographer, if you do good pictures, and if you have a sense of style, you can make it here. It's about learning that. It's about learning how to pose or how to express your photos on Instagram. So a few examples here. For example, what I'm talking about is that you want to try to avoid the obvious filter look, because that doesn't say anything about you as a person. Don't go into Instagram, take a photo, choose one of those filters you have on there, because it just doesn't speak. Millions do that, and it's just nothing new in it. You need to develop something that's you, and then you can continue that on, because everybody's just using filters, of course, and if you look at the three up top here, those are just applied with a filter, and nothing has changed on it as well, and they're just, for me, they're just boring to look at. I don't take them as serious as I do with the one in the middle here, which is the one I posted on my Instagram, for example. There is a filter on this, but it's very, very low. And I'm going to come in to talk about that as well, because it's more about learning to actually edit your photos than it is to learn to apply the right filter to it. That's very important. So very important to try and avoid these filter presets. That, again, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but just try to have it pretty low key. Another area is the captions, which is where I also see a lot of people actually going wrong, because caption is what people sometimes think they're feel to express themselves or explain themselves, whether that's a company or a person. And that can sometimes be a lot of characters that you need to read. And to me, I figured out that actually keeping the caption as short as possible is the best way to actually interact with your followers, because that, again, it's a photo platform. So don't post anything about your company and where you are in your life, or like a super long blabber. Of course, if there is something important you can do, but as a standard, just try to keep it short as possible. And you can even keep it as short as just using an emoji, which I often do. I'm gonna show a few examples here, which is, two of them is mine, and the two others are not, of course. Which, if you look at the pink one here from my friend Van Schneider, he's just expressing himself with an emoji. And that's just because of the color of the picture express whatever that emoji is, and I think it's okay. And that's it. And on the right here, for example, I have a picture of my working station at home, and I didn't need to express anything, I just wrote desk, and that is enough. Same with the one on the left, when I recently visited Tokyo. Instead of writing, oh, I'm in Tokyo, I'm at this amazing coffee place, I'm having this coffee, blah, 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 I just didn't write anything at all. And I have actually tried to sometimes write a longer post, but I realized that people don't interact with it as well. They skip through it. It doesn't get as much attention as the other things do. So keep it as short as possible is my recommendation for this. And of course, it needs to make sense compared to this one, which doesn't make sense at all. So always think about that. But now Instagram did launch a thing so you can edit in it, which is very good. Hashtags is probably the most, is the thing that people are most confused about. People always assume that getting a lot of attention or actually getting out there means that they need to use hashtags. I disagree on all of that. I don't use hashtags. I never really used hashtags. And as a rule of thumb, if you're using hashtags in your description or in comments, people will not take you serious. If I, for example, stumble through my Instagram and I see a post where I just see like 50 or 100 hashtags, I just don't take that person seriously because I know they're trying too hard, if you know what I mean. It's just not real to me, and they often go in and delete it again and post it again and delete it again, or it just doesn't work. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but I will say that you can use hashtag to kickstart a photo, is what I call it. So what I mean by that is that if you have a photo you're posting, have a lot of hashtags ready for it, then when you do post the photo, copy those hashtags into the comment, let them sit there for 30 seconds, and I'm talking 30 seconds, and delete them again. Because what that do is that they actually just stay in that hashtag field. Because I think 80% of people who are liking through hashtags is actually computers, it's not people. So they will still go in and like that photo, and often that kickstart the photo, which means that it probably gets 10 or 20 likes from me in a minute, and that is more real to a lot of people. So the more likes it has, the more likes it's going to get in the beginning. And that is something I have looked a lot into over time. And as a rule of thumb I have for myself right now, if I don't get 100 likes within 10 minutes, the picture's going to do bad. And it's never failed. If I don't get 100 likes within 10 minutes, the picture is never going to be successful. If I do get over 100 likes, it's often just exploding off. So there's a huge thing in figuring out how to get the likes in the first minutes when it's crucial for your photo to get out there to the people. And I'm going to talk a bit about what makes a good photo, which is of course a pretty hard one to talk about. I already talked a bit about the filters and everything else that comes to a photo, but what I see many people actually do wrong most of the times is the understanding of the photo, the grid settings, the angle of the photo is what really says a lot about it. So if you look on the right here, for example, this is a photo I recently took in Tokyo, and if you look at the line of the table and the counter in the back, it's not straight, and that just gives a bad photo. Where on the photo on the left, I try to line it a bit more up, so it holds the grid, it's always aligned with things. Same goes with the horizontal and the vertical. You need to try to keep that consistency in your photo because that's just going to do a lot better. And I actually often shoot over 50 pictures of the same thing. Whenever that's me sitting here doing calligraphy and drinking coffee, 50 to 100 photos can easily be shot. So really just make sure you have a lot of photos to then go through and figure out which one exactly you want to post. And if we look at this one, for example, this is United Airlines. And this is a screenshot from their 2014 Instagram and the 2016. What you see on the 2014 is, what to me, the standard airline Instagram. You're showcasing your pilots, your customer, your even dogs, I think it is, different things. And they, of course, have a lot of followers because it's a huge company, it's a huge airline, but it just wasn't that interesting. And at one point, they started only posting photos of their airplanes like this. And I think they figured out that with the photos they were posting in the past, that the photos of the planes that was really good photos made a lot more attention and it got a lot more likes. So if you go to their Instagram today and look, it's only going to be plane photos, but they have increased their likes like over 100% compared to that back then. So of course they don't need to showcase their customers or their pilots or anything like that. They can do that on other social platforms, but here is a very good place to just showcase good photos because that's again what it's all about. Another example here is again from the same coffee place. And as you see the photo on the right, it's weirdly angled for the eye. It's weird to look at, and there's of course there's the high exposure as well. It doesn't stand out. We're just standing the same place, angling the phone a bit differently, creates the photo to the left. So it's really about being very, very aware of what you're shooting when you're shooting it. So try some different things. Don't just have one thing in front of you want to photograph, figure out one angle that you want to try. Move around. because it's very obvious to the eye that what is good and what is bad. Another one here is from a workshop I did in Tokyo, where I was trying to figure out a way to shoot a picture describing the workshop, but the picture on the left, for example, just wasn't gonna do it on my Instagram. It was too messy. There was too much going on in it, and I couldn't really figure out what to do. I shot a lot of pictures that day. But in the end, I just realized, what if I just take a little niche or a little thing out of that whole workshop, which is the picture to the left, and just post that. And then put in the description that you're doing a workshop, for example. And that worked a lot better. The photo on the left, I'm 100% sure I would never have made it along the way as the other photos do with attention-wise. Another question I get often is, do I ever post a photo that is pretty good to me? And the short answer is no. You really need to be fully aware of what you're posting, and you need to believe in it 110%, whether that's getting help from somebody and just shooting 200 pictures, or whatever it is. You need to believe in what you're posting. So don't just find an awesome thing and take a photo of it and you're not happy with that photo, and don't post it. I often took photos of things I really wanted to post, got home, realized that I didn't get the picture I wanted, and then it just died from there. Then that's it. Then I have to go back to it again or something like that. You just stay consistent. You can't keep posting things that is not 100% done for you. Another important area is timing. So I figured out that out of those 36,000 followers I have, I think it's 25% is actually from the US, which is a lot. And for me, timing has meant a lot. I only post my photos today between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. And that's for the reason that most of my followers are from the US, so when I post it during the afternoon or during the evening, they just woke up. It's before lunch at their place. And the other big area I have followers in is in Asia, so it might be late there, but it might not be too late if I post around 4 or 5. So it's a really good time to hit it. And you need to figure out, of course, where your followers are from, and there are several tools to do that. There's something called Social Square, Squarespace, where you sign up and it retrieves all the information of your followers. You can see where they're from, who all following you, which are your top followers and everything. So there's a lot of statistics in there, and you can learn a lot from those statistics. And this is kind of the big question it comes down to, that you need to ask yourself. If you want to be interesting on Instagram, why should I follow you? That's the question I ask myself every time I do something and every time I post a photo. Would I follow myself seeing this photo out there? If not, then why should anybody else? That's really the key to everything. You need to make interesting things, and you need to figure out how to interact with people through the Instagram, of course. And then you just gotta adapt to it, of course. So there's a lot of to that. Then there's recently the Instagram Stories, which is launched. They got a lot of hate because they said they were copying Snapchat, which they probably did. But for me, that was what I was waiting for. That was really such a good tool for me. I, for a long time, didn't know how to interact with my followers, which was really bothering me. I have so many followers out there in the world, and I know nothing about them. And it was really annoying. So today on my Instagram Stories, for example, I post behind the scenes, or what you can call it. I post daily photos of where I work, at home, just several things that you would normally post on Snapchat, to show a different side than the serious Instagram newsfeed I probably have. And that to me is very important, because Instagram can be too serious. And a lot of people is often going to Instagram looking at people's perfect life, seeing their perfect vacation, their food, and how they're living that amazing life. But you actually might not have any idea what's going on in the background. And the same for my followers, for example. I'm sure 90% of them have no idea what I'm actually doing on a daily basis. They don't know I'm running my own agency and I'm a graphic designer probably, and they just don't know. They just think that I do this. So it's a very nice tool to interact with them. This here is a little post I did before Instagram Stories. where I was really annoyed by not knowing anything, and I made a photo where I was asking all of my followers where they're from, and I didn't expect all to get this much feedback. I think I got around 250 comments on it now, for people just expressing where they're from in the world, and that was to me such a cool thing to see, to actually be able to know who are they a bit, and then I spend a lot of time just clicking through all of these comments and seeing these people. So that to me is very important. For the final things, I'm going to talk a bit about the apps I use and how I edit the photos. So I mainly use two apps. I use Vesco and I use Snapseed. To start with Vesco, Vesco is a company and an app. It's a company who makes Lightroom presets and Photoshop presets. They've been doing that for years. At one point, they figured out there was a huge market in doing it for the phones. So they made their app, and they have actually bootstrapped since. They have never taken any money in investment or anything, and they're a $1 million company right now. Vesco is a really great place to shoot your pictures and also edit them. They have a lot of filters which you can purchase. They're not, some of them are free. The good one is, of course, you need to purchase. They're not super expensive. I think it's like $10 for all of them. So I often use Vesco to shoot the picture in, because Vesco has some amazing features where you can showcase a grid when you're shooting the picture. You can set the focus and the exposure on the screen, so you can control a lot of things on your phone that you might not be able to do on another app or in the standard built-in camera on your phone. So I often use it to shoot it, and then after that I directly take it into Snapseed. Snapseed is an app made by Google. I think it's actually not that old, and it's really good for the main editing of a photo. They have some amazing features that is definitely something that other people, other apps don't have. For example, you can take in a photo in Snapseed, and if you have one area in that photo that is super exposure, you can mark only that area and lower the exposure, same with saturation and everything. So you can edit certain areas of the photo, which is very important sometimes. And then often I take it back to Vesco and crop it, and then from Vesco I publish it. That's how I do it on my phone, and of course sometimes there is a need for me to get it on my computer and actually edit it there, but I think 95% of the time I actually do edit it on my phone. And I would recommend spending a lot of time trying out different things. I can often spend 15 minutes just sitting and trying out what actually works. So what I talked about earlier is that I, for example, develop a style that I have in my photos, and that style is actually a Vesco Cam filter. I use the same filter on all of my photos. And I just take that filter and I lower the opacity on it, so it's not super strong. But that filter is my expression right now. And then I have a high exposure and just a minimalistic approach to it, which I achieve in both of these apps. And I think that was it. Thank you. Is there any question?
If you do paid posts ever?
If I what?
If you do paid posts, like sponsored posts?
No, that was also something you mean if people pay me to post something?
Yeah.
No, I don't do that. If it's, I often get contacted through companies who want to showcase something through me or pay me to post the pictures, but that would just destroy my feed. If it's not a product that is within my field, I don't do it. For example, I think I did it one time, which would Bioplay in Denmark. Wanted to reach out to me, and I did some work for them, and I posted some pictures of it as well. So if it's a product that I can see doing something good to my feed, I will do it. But if it's just an ad, or if it's somebody who wants to showcasing a product or something, I'm just not going to do it. So no, I don't do that. And another thing I didn't touch base on in this, and I wish, was never buy anything. Never buy likes, never buy followers, because it's never going to do anything good for you. They're not real people, they're not real likes. and it's just waste of money basically.